Okay, so thank you very much for joining this video. I appreciate the patience that you've had. If you weren't able to receive our previous announcements, we were basically talking about the fact that things just felt impossible for us to make the or produce the mobile tutorial for the e-commerce store that we had the other time. We are going to put that on hold while we try to fix stuff or get things in place. Then once things are okay, we would continue with that tutorial and make sure that we complete it, just so that everybody can be happy, and then you can add that project to your portfolio. But in the meantime, we are going to jump into a new video, and then in this video we are basically going to be building a social media application, fully fledged web app. And then we're basically going to be using MongoDB, Express, Node.js, and React. Okay, so as you can see here, we have this folder that I created here, YT Social App. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up with I don't think we have open up here, so I'm going to open up like a new window. Okay, so I'm going to open a new window, and then we'll drag and drop, right? So as it opens, I'm going to pull it to the side here, and then I will drag and drop. Okay, so we have it here, drag and drop successfully. Then what do we do next? We need to initialize our Node.js app, right? Now, but before we do that, we need to create two folders. That is one for the server and one for the client. So I'm going to say mkdir, then I'll take server, which is the one that we need right now, and then mkdir on make directory. Then we have the client. Okay, we have the client. Okay, so we are going to cd or change directory into the server, and then we'll initialize our packet.json. So by typing npm init, and then it is initialized for us in here, right? So as you can see, we have this basic sentence, right? Now we are going to have to install certain packages, right? Now we are going to write npm I or npm install, either of them. You can use yarn, so you'd see that those who use yarn will use yarn add and the rest, but I'll use npm. So npm I, then we have express, npm I express, we install mongoose, then we install .env, then we install helmet, okay, then we install morgan, and then we install Nodemon. Right, now why do we need all these ones? Now actually, if you watched my previous video, the introduction to the previous video that we had, Express is basically our Node.js framework. It's going to make it easy for us to write APIs for Node.js application, and mongoose is basically going to help us construct our database schemas for our MongoDB, and .env is going to help us hide our secret keys and use them in our projects regardless, just so we can increase application security once we push them into our GitHub publicly, and also promote security in general, prevent it from being accessed from the browser and stuff. And then helmet is basically going to protect our HTTP headers, just because HTTP headers in general are very vulnerable to so many attacks. So using helmet in general adds this extra shield on top of it. Then we have Morgan. Morgan is basically going to help us log requests into the console, and Nodemon is basically going to help us not have to refresh our servers each and every single time that we use them. So I'm just going to hit enter while it installs. So while it's installing, we want to create a new file in here, that is server.js. Okay, so server.js, and then inside the server.js we want to initialize our Node.js app, right? So we are going to say const or our express app in general. So express is we are going to require express. Okay, we are going to require express from express. That is, after it's done installing, we should be able to require it successfully. Then we are going to call the app, or we're going to initialize express by putting an app variable, and then we say express. Okay, then we are going to have to require mongoose as well, but we wouldn't require mongoose here because in order for us to be able to have scalable and maintainable code in general, I wouldn't want us to use mongoose in the server.js. We'll do that, the database connection, in another folder, and yeah, and then we just initialize it here. So let's not import mongoose here, let's rather import the other things like .env. Okay, but okay, so yeah, so .env, we can import .env here on my keyboard. Yeah, okay, so .env, .env. Then what else? We have helmet. So I'm going to say const helmet is, I'm going to require helmets. Okay, and then we can say const Morgan. I'm going to require Morgan. So I'm going to require Morgan. Oh no, I'm going to require Morgan. Okay, so as you can see here, you can see that I am using the require method to require our items, right? But yeah, in the previous video we had already used required, and then I would want to change something, or I would want to teach something else in this project. So instead of using required for all these things, why don't we go into a packet.json and then change or add this type module. You just add this type and then make this module, right? Then over here we can come back and then clean all of these, and then rather do it what? Import. So what are we importing? We're importing express from where? Express, right? And then things should be a lot more easy from there. Now that we've imported express from express, we can import what else can we import? We can import our .env from env. So .env from dot, so from .env. Okay, then what else can we import? We can import helmets that we installed. Okay, we can import the helmets that we installed. So we have helmets. Okay, then what else? We can also import Morgan, right? We can import Morgan from Morgan. Okay, all right, now that we have Morgan, now we need to initialize our express app, right? So we can take const app is equal to express that we imported, and then we just initialize it here, right? We need to be able to run our server, right? So we're going to say app dot listen. Now on what port are we listening on? We can listen on ports 5000 intentionally. This is why I don't get any conflicts. All right, so for port 5000, and then we can simply do it like a console log just to show that the server is running. So we can say server is running. Okay, now let's go back into our packet.json. As you can see, we have our dependencies here, right? .env here. But in order for us to be able to start our project, we need to be able to change some things here. So I'm going to set this to a start script, and I'm going to say that I'm going to say Nodemon, right? And I'm going to set that Nodemon to server.js. And then once I'm able to save that, come back, and then I run npm start. Okay, no, it wouldn't. Okay, yeah, okay, cannot find the package express. Okay, that is weird. Let me import express one more time. Express from Alright, so now the server is running as we expect it to run. Okay, now that the server is running, let's go ahead and work on some other things like database connection. So inside the server here, I am going to create another folder called db connect. Okay, db connect, and then inside this db connect, I'm going to say db connect again .js. Now inside my db connect, I can import mongoose here because at this point we want to connect to our database, right? So we have mongoose, import mongoose from mongoose. Okay, let me clean this and put this here. Okay, then so yeah, now that we have mongoose, we can create like a function. So db connect, you can export the functions right away because we are using the module, so we can just export. So export db connect as a function, and inside the db connect we could use two ways, right? We could write a promise or we could use a try catch block, but I prefer the try catch block. Okay, so we just log the error, and then over here I would say mongoose dot connect, right? Mongoose dot connect. Then we now take in we now put the URL, we pass the URL in here, of which we're going to do with .env, right? And then after it is successful, we can just log it out here that database, so database has been connected successfully. Okay, all right. Now that we have this database being able to connect successfully, we need to be able to fill in this space for the database connect here. So I'm going to go into my browser. As you can see, I've already logged in, and we are going to, so as you can see, we are inside the data. If I click on database right now, it's going to open up this section, and then all I have to do is connect with VS Code. So I'm going to click on this, take this link, right, and then I am going to go back here. I'm going to go back in here and then paste it, right? Now if I paste it, how do we change this username and then this password? Now what we can do is we can go back into the browser, and then we'll go into the database access here, and then over here we can add a new database. So let's just delete this and then add a new one. So with the user, we can say the user is YouTube, and then the password is YouTube, and then and then for the row we can select the row and say read and write to any database, and then we can add the user. Okay, alright, so we can just go back here, and then we can change this to YouTube as we set it, and we can also change this part to YouTube as we set it to be. Okay, alright, so basically now that we've been able to do this, use the username and the password, we can import it here and use. But before that, some of us watching this video might not have watched the previous one. So in the previous one, let's say you are now using MongoDB, this is your first time. After you've been able to do this, set this up and set the database connection thing up, you might want to come into the network access, and then you might want to add an IP address, and then you can set that to 0.000, and then you just confirm. Right now, the moment I'm not going to click on confirm because I already have it there. When you do that, it means like all IP addresses from every side of the world, Yeah, I mean, if you start to use more production type databases or more production type setups, you might want to specify a database just so you would increase security with your app type thing. So yeah, so now that we know that we can set that up, uh okay, we have this. We can now go into the server.js and just import it, right? So we have db connect being imported, and this thing is basically telling us to add this extension to it .js, right? And then that should be it. We'll save it, and then we should see that database has been connected successfully. But if you remember, we imported .env, or we installed .env. But how are we able to use .env, right? If I create an env file inside my server.js, so I'm going to say .env, and then inside my .env file I can say something like db url, right? And then inside my db url I can take this URL right here. Now you see inside the db URL here, for the if we want to like create a certain section. So if I go into my browser and then I go to my database here and I browse collections, if I browse collections in my database, okay, it should open. So if I go into database here and we click on browse collections, as you can see we have other collections here that we develop applications through. So what we can do is, for if we want to have like a separate name for ours in here, we can go back to VS Code and then we can say YT social app, and then anytime we create a new document in our databases, it's going to store it in our own collection name with the YT social app name there. Now if I copy this URL, okay, if I copy this URL real quick, I'm just going to cut it and then put it here, right? Just put it there. Then I open up db connect and then I use my process.env thing. I use my process.env thing. So I'm going to say process.env .db URL. Okay, once you're able to do that, you see that it should be able to connect to the URL, right? But it's not able to do that efficiently. Okay, and then why is that? Now the reason why that is happening is because we have not initialized .env here. So what we can do here is you can come here and say .env .config, and then we just do this, and then once we save and we check, we should see everything working well, right? Okay, so now that we've been able to set up this and the database is now running, let's not forget to utilize the helmet and the Morgan. Let's not forget to utilize helmet and the Morgan that we installed, right? So under here we can just say app.use. Okay, I think we can even use, we can do that here. We can just bring that here, okay, and then app.use. Then over here we can say helmet, then we can just initialize helmet, and then we can also take app.use then we say Morgan, app.use Morgan, then we're going to pass this in common. Okay, then one more thing we forgot to do is to use CORS. So we're just going to set up CORS for the meantime, just so that we can be able to communicate with the front end and the back end from different cross origin domains. So I'm gonna say I'm going to, okay, we're already in server, right? So npm I, then I'll install CORS. Then while CORS is installed, we could just import it imports CORS from CORS. Okay, then over here we can say app.use CORS. Okay. Then let's not forget our express.json, so that we can be able to parse the items that we pass through the body. So we say express.json. Okay, then I feel like everything should be okay for now. The rest of the things we would handle them as we keep going on in the project. So I really appreciate the fact that you were able to make it to the end of this video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, so that the algorithm will be able to push this video to more people who need help with working in the backend, especially developing Node.js APIs. Thank you very much.